Hey everyone, it's Christina here at the Castaway Kitchen, and I'm trying something new with my YouTube videos. I'm going to try and record them in podcast format, and I can edit them and add really cool, informative stuff to the screen when needed. So this is, I guess, my first official episode in this format. We'll see how it goes. I wanted to talk about my self-experimentation. For the month of September, I ran an eating with intention kind of challenge, and my personal goals for that month were to eat more protein. I know on keto, the protein thing can be quite the debate, but I am firmly in the camp of protein is good for you. You need protein to gain muscle. You need protein to heal. For me, protein is more satisfying than fat, even when I eat it. And much to the tune of Rob Wolf and the people at Keto Gains, I figured out my macros. 1 gram per pound of lean body mass is the equation I used. And that was my goal. That's about 140 grams a day, which is a lot. And I definitely felt like I wasn't reaching my goals. And the reason I felt that is because I wasn't recovering well from my workouts. I was getting really sore. So I started tracking again, and I haven't tracked my macros in a really long time, and I don't like doing it. I feel like it can make me a little kooky pants and start focusing too much on the calories and stuff like that. And it's hard because it's one of those mental games where even though I know better, it's hard to do better, and I still fall into old habits. But hey, it's just being honest, that's part of living with binge eating and body dysmorphia and just these things that are always a work in progress here. I personally work on them all the time through mindfulness and affirmations and healthy living, but I still fall victim to unhealthy habits sometimes as well, especially in the form of either overeating or undereating. It's like I restrict too many days in a row and then I binge. So I was trying really hard not to do that. And I did. I made it the whole month without going crazy. I tracked my macros. But the way I did it was I would keep a detailed food journal in a notebook the whole day. And right before dinner time, I would plug in all my food choices. That way I knew that if I was short on protein, especially, right, because that was my main goal, I could eat more with dinner. Like even if what I was cooking wasn't enough, I could make a protein shake. And it worked really well. And I will say I wasn't obsessive about it. I felt like if I was at least at 120 grams a day, it was good. And some days I was over. Some days I'd be like 160, 170. So there was that natural ebb and flow of intuitive eating where I just plug in my numbers and there was a, fluctuation. My fat macros stayed the same, essentially. Same thing. Some days were higher, some days were lower. There was very few days where my fat was like 90 grams, like less than my protein. But remember, because fat is 4 calories per gram. Sorry, 9 calories per gram. And protein and carbs are 4. Even if you have less grams of fat, it's still going to be more calories than fat. If that makes, you can do that math. And my carbs were pretty normal. It was about 50 grams total carbs for the whole month was like my average. There was a day or two, I did go to Expo East, which was a little hard because there was a lot of taste testing. And those 2 days I didn't track. And while there was a lot of fasting going on when I did eat, it wasn't ideal. There's definitely some sugar those days. And I paid for it in the sense of like lethargy for a day or two afterwards and being overwhelmed by all the exponents and so much stuff there. So I did see some benefits to added protein. My hair, very healthy and fuller than normal. I recovered a lot faster from my workouts, and I started seeing definition again in places of my body that had lost a little bit of definition between the move and the stress and the book tour. I had felt like my body composition was kind of like not improving. And I work out pretty often. So when I don't see like gains, I'm like, what the fuck? So eating more protein, definitely started seeing that again, which is really nice. And I will say I didn't have as many cravings. And one of the more positive things was my coffee in the morning. I used to wake up in the morning and do like a fatty coffee, like pretty, like 200, maybe 300 calorie beverage. And I had read an article on Fat Adapted by Maria Emmerich, and she was talking about how when you're drinking your fat, like the downfall to that. Well, I do like having like plated fat, and I definitely think there's a place for good fats. I'm okay with cooking with plenty of fat, eating avocado, using dressings. Like I'm not someone who's weird about that. I enjoy it. So I was like, her article was talking about triglycerides and how it's better to eat your fat from whole food sources, not in beverages. And it got me thinking, because I've definitely been doing keto for 2 years and I've used butter coffee, bulletproof coffee the whole time. So it was something that I had to think about, being like, oh, if it's raising your triglycerides, like maybe that's not a good idea, or maybe not for me. So I was like, okay, let me switch from adding coconut oil and coconut milk or whatever to my coffee to just doing like almond milk, or like store-bought nut milks, which tend to be a lot lighter than homemade. And I like Elmhurst because that brand is sugar-free, like minimal ingredients, just water and nuts, no emulsifiers. So I do like 8 ounces of nut milk and 12 ounces of coffee, or 16 ounces of coffee. I drink like 2 cups, plus just 1 tablespoon of MCT oil instead of more. And I was still able to like intermittent fast the same, and go to like noon without eating, and I still had energy for my workouts. I didn't miss it. And I realized I'm eating enough fat in my day, and it leaves me open to adding more satisfying fats to my meals. So that was just an interesting change that came about easily. Like had I been hungry or not feeling well, I would have gone back, but I was surprised that like that change and how it came about, like it felt good. So I'm rolling with it. And yeah, what else was good about the more protein? I felt better than like, because I was being so mindful about my protein intake, if a day or like a meal I wanted to skip protein, like days I was really craving just roasted veggies, I wouldn't feel weird about it, or like, oh, it's not a balanced thing. I don't know. I felt like it put a really positive twist on tracking for me. I also think that writing everything down in a notebook and then inputting it to get information from the app was better than going and tracking minute per minute, because then that kind of creates that tug of war and leaves the opportunity there to over restrict or overeat. Like you're not hungry, but you've only had like 1,900 calories, and you're like, maybe I can eat more when you don't need to. I also didn't really do sweeteners in that last month, which was great. If I had a sweet, it was dark chocolate just by itself, and I usually have 85 to 90% dark. And dark chocolate, like a piece of 2 or dark chocolate with some LaCroix, was like my jam. It still is. It's like crave crushing. So anyway, I know it's still like a new thought or school of thought or whatever, that higher protein is going to kick you out of ketosis. But even doing higher protein and with 50 total grams of carbs a day, roughly, I was still in ketosis. I still had energy, saw good results. Body weight loss was like 4.5 pounds throughout the whole month. But remember, I weight lift a lot, and I was putting on lean muscle mass. And less cravings, because for me, even if I do like fat bombs, I'm still craving more sweet or more fat bombs. I don't know about you, but that happens to me. And what's another positive? Oh yeah, last day of the month, I decided to make, it was September 31st, like Sunday, it was recently. Swerve Sweetie sent me all these like pancake mixes and all their stuff. And it was a Sunday, it was the last day of the month. I was like, you know what? I'm going to make pancakes for breakfast. And their mixes, although they use Swerve, are definitely higher in carbs because they use a little tapioca starch. But I made the pancakes. They're like 11 net grams of carbs per 2 pancakes. I had 4 because who the hell eats 2 pancakes for breakfast? And that day, I had been such a long time since I had done a carb up, or even just like eaten carbs the whole day, because if I did have carbs in the last few years, it was always like one meal and that was it. So I was like, let's do a carb day. So I had the pancakes for breakfast, plain, just vegan butter on top, no maple syrup. And then for lunch, I had Banza pasta, which I haven't had that ever, but I make it for the boys all the time. It's a chickpea-based pasta. I had that with cauliflower cream on top and some grilled. And total, my day was definitely higher in carb. And let me tell you, my blood sugar was awesome. I tested it right after I had the pasta, and it was like 82. An hour after the pasta, it was 107. 2 hours after the pasta, it was back down to 80. So obviously I chose, slow carbs on my whole day. However, I wasn't like super hungry between meals. I wasn't tired the next day. I had tons of energy, and I went back to my regular scheduled programming, whole food keto, no sweeteners, no starchy veggies or fruit, high protein, high fat. And it was like I didn't skip a beat, which shows me that my insulin sensitivity has improved through my 2 years of keto, and two, that obviously I wasn't out of ketosis with my high protein month. And that's important. That means that things are functioning as they should, that I have metabolic flexibility, which is the goal. So that was really exciting. And then October 1st, the next day, I started doing a new weightlifting program. I'm doing the No Fail Physique for Women, a 12-week sculpting program that applies higher intensity workouts and very targeted workouts, intermittent fasting, and carb ups. So that's exciting. And I think that's a really good follow-up to my month of higher protein. Now that includes more intermittent fasting and targeted carb consumption. So I think it's a really good follow-up. I'm going to see really good results. So this is going to be going October, November, 12 weeks. That's 3 months. So I'll finish this program around New Year's, which is interesting. I'll have to, it's not like I drink or party, so holidays aren't an issue. But I'm going to go visit my mom, so I have to find a gym. But yeah, it's been interesting approaching new fitness goals from a way or from a headspace that's really healthy, where I'm not over restricting. And my whole month when I track, I'll show you guys on the sides here, it was the calories went up and down. Some days were 1,800, some days were 2,200. Some days, carbs were 8% of my calories, and some days they were 15 because it went a little more. But when I went a little more, it was either cashew milk from an extra protein shake or greens. It wasn't anything it wasn't a starch, and I don't think anything that would kick me out of ketosis. So I had a very good results. I'm very happy with what I learned about myself and my body. And I did finish the month on a very positive note, where I no longer say things like, I hate my body. I no longer say things like my body hates me, or it doesn't work right, or I can't lose weight, or I don't know, it's hard for me to change. That kind of vernacular, I realized, wasn't doing me any favors. And so implementing positive thinking, my body works just the way it should. It burns fat, it metabolizes, it creates energy. My body loves me, and I love my body, and I take care of it. And just ending it, my September eating with intention, feeling really good, and diving into this sculpting program. It kind of, again, serendipitous. Michelle sent me her program, and I was like, you read my mind. So all good things. At the end of this 12-week program, I'll do another update. But if anything happens along the way, I will be talking about it more. And thanks for listening. I'll be doing more of these. Keep them short. We'll do some more informational ones. I can talk about things I'm learning in my nutritional therapy program. Any questions about the autoimmune protocol? This is definitely a dry run, first one. So comment below if you have any ideas for future episodes. Let me know what you want me to talk about. I hope you have a super good day, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye.